Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1999 Ford F-150 XLT. Up front is a 4.2 liter V6, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this F-150 because I have not reviewed this generation of the F-150 before. They don't really exist much anymore in my area, and we'll talk about that later on. But this is known as the Jelly Bean era of the F-150 that ran from 98 to about 2003, 2004. And so I'm finally behind the wheel of a Jelly Bean F-150, and I'm excited to share it with you here today. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 4.2 liter Essex V6 under the hood. Well, that was the base engine here for the F-150 of this era. It makes about 205 horsepower, and it's a relatively stout engine. A lot of fleet companies would use this engine because A, it's a little bit better on fuel, B, they didn't really need all that towing power, and C, it's easier to work on because the engine bay is meant to fit a V8, but with 2 less cylinders, there's a little bit more space to groove around the engine. That being said, something you do need to look out for with these engines is the timing cover gasket, because they are prone to fail. There actually is a recall for this. However, there isn't any real way to know that it's happening. It would leak coolant into the engine and hydrolock it. So it's kind of a silent but deadly issue. So if you are looking to buy a 4.2 liter V6 F-150, ask about the timing cover. Just see if it's been done. Like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed automatic. This is the 4R70W, if that means anything to anyone. And it does the job. You know, 90s transmissions aren't that great. And I have to say, I don't think transmissions get enough credit for how good they are today. The 10 speeds, 8-speed dual clutches, all of those are really, really good transmissions in the modern era, and these 4 speeds just aren't that desirable or good or interesting. So it works, it propels the vehicle, but not much more than that. Last but not least, this particular F-150 is 2-wheel drive. However, you can find them in 4-wheel drive, of course, in the era. How does it feel to drive the F-150? It's fine. It doesn't have any really interesting characteristics. I'm not driving this thinking, wow, you know, we're really missing out here. It is a truck. It is a truck meant to do truck things, and it does truck things pretty well, and that's it. It does not have good acceleration, especially with that V6, but it's honest. You know, it's not trying to be anything that it's not. It gives you 200 horsepower, which is enough to haul around your equipment, and that's it. It's not showboaty. Now, in this generation, they did do an SVT Lightning, which was a supercharged V8 truck, and I would love to get my hands on one of those at some point down the line, but this is far from it, although it shares the iconic color. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 6 gauges. Off to the left is my fuel and oil pressure. In the center, we get the speedometer and tachometer. And off to the right, we have the battery voltage and coolant temperature. On the steering wheel, we do get cruise control, which honestly kind of surprised me in such a basic truck for 1999, but hey, we do get it here. And off to the left, we have a climate control vent, headlight switch, and our gauge dimmer switch. Moving on to the door, we have power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. More great features here for the XLT, where the XL would have had manual. Moving into the center, we do have our radio. I love the cassette player, how dated this is, but it's also that sort of warm nostalgia. I grew up in the late 90s and early 2000s, and so seeing this really brings me back to that era. We do have our climate controls as well. Fan speed off to the left, temperature in the center, where to send it off to the right. We have climate control vents surrounding that, as well as we do have our airbag off, something you don't see anymore because we have pressure sensors in modern seats. There's no pressure sensor here, so the airbag is always on, but you can manually turn it off if no one's sitting there. Then we have 2 12-volt outlets, 2 cup holders that we will do a big friggin' bottle test, and it sadly fails. However, I love the fact that it says soft cups only. The Ford Taurus of the 90s also said this because in an accident they would become a projectile. So soft cups only, just not big cups. Connected to that, we do have a pull-out ashtray, no center console, and then we have the bench seat. The seats are very comfortable. 90s seats are very comfortable. It's because there's no sensors in them, no power mechanisms, nothing like that. It's just foam with a shell, and that's it, and I love that. However, we do have back seats. Kind of surprisingly, we have these little half doors. So let's go do a backseat review. All right, so getting into the back of the F-150 is a little interesting because it has these half doors. So you have to open up the driver's door and then pull this, and now you could open up into the back. I can already tell you from right here, this is not going to be very pleasurable. Now, something also to note is that the driver's seatbelt is on this really long extension. So when you put it on, it does feel kind of weird because it like pivots. But once it's on, it's fine. Like it feels normal once you're driving around and whatnot. But actually like the motion of putting it on is just kind of strange. So that's the back seat. That's what we're working with here. I'll scoot this seat up a little bit just so I could physically get in here. I'm sure, God, I can't even think of how many kids getting in the back of trucks probably grabbed this and yanked on it, which is probably not the best thing to do, but getting in. Does it look like I'm crushed? Because it feels like I'm crushed, because I'm crushed. These are not good back seats. That is a door as well, so you do get doors on both sides for this back area, but yeah, my knees don't even really fit well. This is after moving the seat up. So, I mean, I'm sure many kids grew up back here. My parents personally did not have an F-150. We had a Dodge Ram. We were a Mopar family for some horrible reason. But I would imagine like a lot of kids made a lot of memories back here in the work truck with dad, going to work on a Saturday, you know, doing some side work, all that stuff. That's what these seats are for. Can you take people in the back of your F-150? Technically. Technically you can. I would not recommend it. Let's hop into the very back. We'll take a look at the ever-exciting bed, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so around the back of the F-150, and honestly, nothing really to write home about. Very simple, traditional tailgates, no crazy mechanisms, no power operation, no lights, no nothing like that. Very, very simple bed. We do get some tie-down locations, but that's literally it. This does have a bed liner in it, and there it is. Like, I don't even really know what else to say. It's a truck bed. It does truck bed things, which is actually really nice because you can throw stuff back here and not really worry about it. A lot of new trucks, they have tailgates that split 5 different ways or have speakers in them or lights or outlets and things like that. And it's just more stuff to go wrong. So very simple, very basic. This will work until it either rusts apart or is put into a junkyard. It's going to operate the same way no matter what, which is very, very nice. Pull it back up like this. There you go. F-150. Now we got to talk about the looks, and there's a reason they call these the jelly bean era of F-150. This was quite the dramatic shift from the early 90s. So the early 90s F-150s are very square nose, and trucks had been pretty much the same styling for 30 years at that point. Those are known as the OBS trucks, or old body style. Then in the year 1998, they moved to this body style, which was quite dramatically different. Very curvy, rounded, and just unlike what trucks had looked like previously. And so they nicknamed this one the Jelly Bean because it was so round and soft. Maybe Marshmallow would have fit as well. But either way, I like the styling of it. It's very of the era, and it only lasted, what, 5 or 6 model years, and then they called it a day. So I don't want to say one-hit wonder, but one style Susan, maybe? I don't know. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving, finally, the Jelly Bean F-150? Well, has it lived up to all my hopes and dreams? Yeah, pretty much. I didn't really have any crazy expectations for it. It's still a run-of-the-mill V6 F-150. But I think this was an important era for Ford and trucks in general. In the 1990s, Dodge kind of hit the scene, interestingly, with the second-gen Dodge Ram. I personally owned a second-gen Dodge Ram, and the importance of that truck was twofold. First of all, that kind of introed the more curvy era of pickup trucks, or pickup trucks that had some type of interesting styling done to them. All pickup trucks beforehand were square headlights, box. That's it. The Dodge Ram kind of changed things up. The second thing that the Ram did was make trucks kind of a style icon, or at least somewhat attractive to someone that is going to daily drive it. Again, previously, trucks were these sort of hard utility vehicles, and if you didn't have torn jeans and cowboy boots, they weren't really for you. Well, the Dodge Ram changed that. And now this is Ford's response to that change. You could see it visually. It got softer, it got friendlier, it got happier. You look at this and you kind of go, oh. You look at the OBSs and you go, oh. And so this is Ford stepping into that more modern era, the era that we still see going on today, where trucks are status symbols, where trucks are daily drivers, where trucks are more coverall vehicles that have to work on date night and on the farm. This truck, along with the second gen Ram, sort of ushered that in. And we saw in the 2000s that GM followed suit as well. The cat eye and round-eyed Silverado were a lot friendlier to look at. And then we got vehicles like the Chevy Avalanche that was a blend of SUV and pickup truck. That hadn't really been done before besides the El Camino and Ranchero, but those were their own separate vehicles. My point being is that this was a big step for Ford, and I think it worked out pretty well. Besides the engine issue, sure, timing cover, and the inevitable rust. Being from the 90s, they were using cheaper metals. This lived its whole life so far in the Midwest. It has had a rough life for sure. You just don't see these much anymore. And so that is why it's been so hard for me to find one, but I am so incredibly happy to say that I finally have found one, and that is all thank you to Malachi. Huge thank you to Malachi for letting me borrow his F-150 for today's video. He has been such a gracious host, such a lovely person to work with. I hope to work with him again in the future and drive more of his awesome vehicles like this F-150 XLT. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.